For 6 long years, Howard Carter had searched the Valley of the Kings, season after season, moving thousands of tons of sand and rubble while funding was nearly exhausted, and his patron Lord Carnarvon grew impatient. Until on a November morning in 1922, a young water boy's digging uncovered something unusual. A stone step, then another and another, 12 steps leading down to a sealed doorway, still bearing the marks of ancient necropolis guards, prompting Carter to send an urgent telegram to England. And 3 weeks later, when Carnarvon arrived, they broke through the outer door together, cleared a rubble-filled corridor, reached the second sealed entrance, and when Carter made a small hole and raised a candle, hot air rushed out, causing the flame to flicker, and Carnarvon asked a question that would echo through history. "Can you see anything?" To which Carter whispered his famous reply, "Yes, wonderful things." But who was the king behind that sealed door? To understand, we must travel back over 3,000 years to a child who never asked to rule, because Tutankhamun was approximately 9 years old when he ascended the throne of Egypt, inheriting a kingdom in crisis after his father Akhenaten had upended centuries of tradition by abandoning the old gods, moving the capital, and imposing worship of a single deity called the Aten, leaving Egypt fractured with furious priesthoods and confused people. So the boy king's task was restoration, and under guidance from powerful advisors like the Vizier Ai and the General Horemheb, Tutankhamun reopened the temples, restored the old gods, and moved the court back to Thebes, though real power likely rested with the men who whisper behind the throne. Tutankhamun ruled for roughly 9 years and died around the age of 19 suddenly and under mysterious circumstances. And after his death, his successors did something remarkable. They tried to erase him by chiseling his name off monuments, claiming his statues, and omitting him from official king lists. So within a few generations, Egypt forgot he had ever existed. And that erasure ironically would save him, because when tomb robbers swept through the Valley of the Kings, plundering the burials of legendary pharaohs like Ramses the Great, they overlooked a forgotten boy, and his tomb lay hidden beneath the sand, largely intact, for over 3,000 years. What Howard Carter found inside was staggering. More than 5,000 objects filled 4 small chambers, including golden shrines, ceremonial chariots, jewelry, weapons, furniture, and food for the afterlife. And at the center of it all, within a nest of golden coffins, lay the king himself with his face covered by 11 kilograms of solid gold shaped into the most recognizable image from the ancient world, igniting what newspapers called Tutmania as Egypt-themed fashion swept through Europe. And cinemas screened footage of the excavation, transforming the once-erased boy king into an immortal icon. But then came the stories, because just months after the tomb's opening, Lord Carnarvon died in Cairo from an infected mosquito bite that led to blood poisoning, and journalists seized on tragedy with headlines screaming of a pharaoh's curse, claiming the lights in Cairo flickered at the moment of his death, and that Carnarvon's dog howled, and died in England at the same instant, making extraordinary copy. But decades later, when researchers examined the fates of those present at the tombs opening, the data told a different story. Howard Carter himself lived another 17 years. Most team members showed no unusual mortality rate, and the curse was revealed not as supernatural, but as a media phenomenon born from tragedy and amplified by fascination. The curse faded, but another mystery took its place. Because how did Tutankhamun actually die? In 1968, scientists conducted the first X-ray examination of the mummy and found something troubling: a fragment of bone inside the skull and what appeared to be damage at the base, leading many to wonder if someone had struck the young king from behind. And for decades, a murder theory persisted, making Tutankhamun history's most famous cold case. Then in 2005, Egyptian researchers led by Dr. Zahi Hawass performed detailed CT scans, creating over 1,700 digital images of the mummy, and the findings reshaped everything, revealing that the skull damage most likely occurred after death, probably during the mummification process, or later handling with no evidence of fatal blow. But something else emerged. The scans revealed a fresh fracture in Tutankhamun's left leg, an injury that occurred just days before death with no time to heal, making murder seem unlikely, while accident or illness now seem very possible. 5 years later, DNA testing added another layer when scientists analyzed Tutankhamun and 10 other royal mummies, publishing results in the Journal of the American Medical Association that suggested Tutankhamun's parents were likely siblings, close kin parentage that significantly increased genetic risk, and the young king showed signs of bone disease, including necrosis in his foot, explaining why over 130 walking canes were found in his tomb. Not symbols of power, but likely daily necessities. So imagine being 19, king of the greatest civilization on Earth, and struggling simply to walk. The DNA analysis also detected genetic traces of severe malaria caused by Plasmodium falciparum, and the emerging picture was tragic. A genetically vulnerable young man with a serious leg fracture and a malarial infection. Each alone potentially survivable, but together for someone already weakened, possibly fatal, revealing this was not murder but misfortune compounded by biology. Even his burial tells a story of chaos, because tomb KV62 is surprisingly small with just 4 modest chambers, and most Egyptologists believe his death was unexpected and the burial rushed, with embalming showing signs of haste as resin was poured carelessly, and the hardest central for the afterlife in Egyptian belief was missing for reasons that remain debated, while his vizier performed the funeral rites and then claimed the throne for himself. Proving politics moved quickly in ancient Egypt. In 2015, new technology sparked fresh excitement when radar and thermal scans suggested possible anomalies behind the tomb walls, with some speculating hidden chambers might contain the burial of Queen Nefertiti herself. But by 2018, more sophisticated ground-penetrating radar found no convincing evidence of hidden rooms, and the anomalies appear to be artifacts of the scanning process itself, meaning the tomb, as far as current technology can determine, holds no further secrets. Strip away the gold, set aside the curse, look past the headlines, and what remains is something more profound. A boy born into impossible circumstances, a child who watched his father tear apart the religious foundations of his world, then inherited the burden of rebuilding it. A teenager who likely endured chronic pain and walked with Cain while commanding an empire, who married his half-sister and buried 2 stillborn daughters, ruled for 9 years, died before his 20th birthday, and had his successors try to erase him from history, yet through accident and obscurity became the most famous pharaoh who ever lived. Each generation has examined Tutankhamun with whatever tools it possessed: Carter's brushes and notebooks, X-rays in the 1960s, CT scans in 2005, DNA analysis in 2010, radar in 2018, and each technology peeled back another layer of mystery, revealing not a curse or conspiracy, but a human being, a fragile boy who sat upon a golden throne, struggled with pain we can only imagine, died young and was meant to be forgotten. But time, it seems, had other plans, because 3,000 years of silence passed and still we speak his name. Like the video if you learned something new, and subscribe for more stories where history meets science.